The great hall of Alindra shimmered like a dream carved from frozen light. Towers of translucent crystal curved overhead, their surfaces pulsing softly with the rhythm of the planet's twin moons. Commander Elias Ward stood at the center of it all, painfully aware of how small and out of place he looked. One solitary human wrapped in plain gray uniform amid a sea of radiant, silver-blue elegance. The Alindrians moved like liquid through the chamber, tall and graceful, their luminous eyes glancing his way with curiosity thinly veiled behind diplomacy. He'd been summoned to the palace for reasons the message hadn't explained. That was never a good sign. He straightened as the double doors at the far end opened. A hush rippled through the gathered courtiers. She entered, a figure so otherworldly that for a moment his breath caught. Her skin was the pale blue of glacial light, her hair white gold and braided into twin strands that fell over shining armor etched with runes. A diadem rested upon her brow, its gem catching and bending the hall's light until it looked as though the stars themselves had taken notice of her. Princess Lysra of Alindra. He'd seen images before, of course, intelligence briefings, holofiles, but nothing prepared him for the reality of her presence. She moved toward him, her expression poised, unreadable, but her eyes were alive, pools of crystalline clarity that seemed to reflect not the hall, but something deeper, as though she were seeing the space between thoughts. Elias realized, too late, that he was staring. The court was silent. She stopped before him, tilting her head slightly, the gesture both curious and sharp. "Why are you staring, Commander?" she asked, her voice soft but carrying through the chamber like a melody wrapped in steel. Every eye turned to him. He should have bowed, deflected, followed protocol. Instead, words left his mouth before reason caught them. "Because you're beautiful," he said simply. A collective murmur swept through the court. For a heartbeat, he thought he'd doomed whatever fragile alliance had brought him here. But Lysra didn't recoil. She blinked once, the faintest flicker of surprise crossing her perfect composure. "Humans," she said quietly, as if tasting the word anew. "You mistake danger for beauty." "Maybe," Elias said, keeping his tone level. "Or maybe they're the same thing." Her lips curved. Not quite a smile, but something that might have been the ghost of one. "Interesting," she murmured. "You may stand." "Wasn't kneeling," he said under his breath. Her gaze sharpened, but there was amusement there now. "Follow me, Commander Ward. We have much to discuss." The court parted as she walked past, her silvery cloak whispering against the polished floor. Elias followed, conscious of every step. He could feel the weight of alien eyes upon him, some curious, some disapproving. The Alindrians were a race of perfectionists, their civilization ancient beyond human reckoning, their empire spanning sectors where light itself bowed to their technology. The human colonies were newcomers, barely a century old, tolerated more out of fascination than respect. Yet somehow, humanity's resilience had earned an invitation to the negotiating table, and Elias had been chosen as their envoy. They walked through corridors that gleamed like veins of living crystal. The air was cool and faintly luminescent, filled with the hum of the palace's sentient architecture. "Your people are impulsive," Lysra said finally, not looking at him. "We act when we believe something's worth acting for," Elias replied. "Or when you believe you're right," she said. "Often the same thing," he said. That earned another almost smile. "Your kind fascinates me," she said. "You burn so brightly and so briefly. Do you ever tire of reaching beyond your limits?" "Not until we break them," he said. They entered a smaller chamber, circular and lined with softly glowing runes. A table of light hovered at its center, displaying a shifting holographic map of nearby systems. "Sit," she said, motioning to a transparent chair that adjusted to his form the moment he touched it. She remained standing, her hands folded behind her back. "You know why you're here," she began. "I was told the Alindrians requested a human liaison for frontier diplomacy," Elias said. "But I have a feeling there's more to it." "There is," she said. The hologram shifted, revealing an image of a dying star surrounded by debris. This system, Calith 9, was home to an Alindrian outpost. 3 days ago, we lost all contact. Pirates? He asked. Unlikely, she said. The distress beacon contained only one phrase. The silence is awake. Elias frowned. That's supposed to mean something? It is an old warning, she said. From before our recorded history. He leaned forward. You think it's real? We do not think, she said. We know. Her tone carried no arrogance, only certainty. Our sensors detected energy signatures no natural source could produce. You humans have experience confronting the unpredictable. We require that perspective. You're asking for help. I am extending an invitation, she corrected. The choice to accept remains yours. Elias studied her, searching for the trap behind the elegance. You don't trust your own people with this? Trust, she said softly, is earned, not inherited. He nodded slowly. Then I'll go. Her eyes widened slightly. So quickly. Someone's in trouble, he said. That's reason enough. She studied him for a long moment, the crystalline map casting shifting light across her face. You risk much for those you do not know, she said. I risk more by doing nothing, he replied. Her gaze softened. Then you will not go alone. The next morning, the Eidolon, an Elendrian cruiser shaped like a blade of glass, rose through the planet's atmosphere, its engines singing in harmonic resonance. Elias stood on the observation deck, watching the world fall away beneath them. Lysra joined him, her armor replaced by a lighter exploration suit that shimmered like liquid mercury. You ever leave your palace? He asked. Rarely, she said. The stars are not kind to royalty. They're not kind to anyone, he said. That's what makes them honest. She glanced at him, a spark of curiosity in her expression. You speak as though the void were an old friend. We've spent a lot of time together, he said. Doesn't mean we understand each other. Perhaps that is what binds us, she said quietly. The desire to understand what will never love us back. They reached orbit, the ship sliding into the silent black. Stars scattered endlessly ahead. The Elendrian crew moved with fluid precision, their motions almost ritualistic. Elias noticed how they glanced at him, not with disdain now, but with something approaching wariness. Humans had a reputation among the stars for unpredictability, and unpredictability frightened civilizations built on perfection. Hours passed. The Eidolon glided into deep space, following the trail of the lost outpost. Elias dozed briefly in the co-pilot's seat, lulled by the low harmonic hum of the engines. He dreamed of Earth, of wind, rain, and laughter. He woke to Lysra's voice. Commander, she said softly, we've arrived. The view outside the viewport was a graveyard. A shattered moon drifted in pieces across the horizon, its surface torn apart by unseen forces. The outpost itself was gone. Only fragments of silver architecture remained, floating amid glowing dust. Radiation? He asked. None, said the ship's AI. No life signs either. It's too quiet, Elias muttered. Lysra's gaze was fixed on the debris. That silence. It feels wrong. You said the beacon called it awake, he said. Maybe this is what it does. She touched the console, magnifying the image. At the center of the wreckage, something pulsed faintly, dark, rhythmic, almost organic. What is that? He asked. Not Elendrian, she said. Not anything we know. He leaned closer. Then we'd better take a closer look. Caution, she warned. We don't yet understand what destroyed them. Which is exactly why we need to, he said. If it's spreading, we can't let it reach populated space. She hesitated, then nodded. Very well. We go together. The shuttle descended into the wreckage, lights slicing through the drifting debris. Inside, the remains of Elendrian architecture floated like bones, beautiful even in ruin. I've seen battlefields, Elias said quietly. This isn't one. No, Lysra murmured. This is something older. They reached the central structure, where the pulsing light grew stronger. It came from a black sphere the size of a human heart, suspended in midair. The surface rippled like liquid shadow. "Looks alive," Elias said. "It is alive," Lysra whispered. "Do not touch it." "Wasn't planning to," he said, though he stepped closer, scanning. "Energy readings are off the charts. Whatever it is, it's feeding." Suddenly the sphere shuddered. A shockwave of invisible force rippled through the chamber, knocking them both backward. Lights flickered. Elias scrambled to his feet, reaching for Lysra. "You okay?" "Yes," she said, dazed. The sphere's glow intensified, tendrils of light curling outward. "It's reacting to us," she shouted. Elias fired his weapon, a pulse of blue energy striking the sphere. The shot vanished into it like a stone into water. The sphere pulsed once, then collapsed in on itself, leaving silence. For a long moment, neither moved. Then Lysra exhaled. "It's dormant again." "Or waiting," Elias said. They returned to the shuttle, the silence heavy around them. As they lifted off, Lysra glanced back at the ruin below. "The silence is awake," she murmured. "And now it knows our names." "Let it," Elias said, though his gut twisted with unease. "If it comes for us, it'll find we're not easy prey." Back aboard the Eidolon, they stood together at the viewport, watching the wreckage drift into shadow. "You shouldn't have come," she said softly. "Why?" "Because I fear what this will cost you." "You think I scare that easy?" "I think," she said, looking at him, "you don't yet understand what you've touched." Her eyes met his again, and for a heartbeat the world around them disappeared. The stars outside glimmered faintly against the glass, and he realized his earlier words hadn't been reckless. They'd been true. She was beautiful, yes, but not just in form. In defiance. In the way she carried fear and strength in the same breath. "Then I'll learn," he said quietly. "And you'll teach me." She studied him for a long time before replying. "Perhaps," she said, "if we both survive what's coming." The Eidolon turned slowly, engines igniting as it left the graveyard behind. In the reflection of the stars, Elias saw the faintest trace of something moving within the void they disturbed. Something that pulsed once, as if answering his heartbeat. The Eidolon drifted through the darkness of Caliph 9's shadow, its hull aglow with faint energy filaments tracing across the crystalline plating. From the outside, the ship was silent perfection. Inside, tension simmered beneath the elegance. Elias Ward paced the command deck, watching the sensor readouts loop endlessly. Nothing. No radiation spikes, no movement, no transmissions. And yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that the void was watching back. "Still nothing?" he asked the AI. "Affirmative," it replied. "Environmental conditions remain static, but gravitational readings are fluctuating." Meaning, said a familiar voice behind him. "The silence is not as still as it seems." He turned to see Lysra standing near the observation pane, her armor reflecting the starlight like liquid mercury. Her expression was calm, but her hands were clasped behind her back too tightly. "You felt it too," he said quietly. "Elindrians do not feel in the way you mean," she replied, though her voice softened. "But yes, something has changed." She stepped closer to the glass, her reflection merging with the stars beyond. "Our ancestors believed the silence was not absence, but waiting. That when creation spoke too loudly, something listened." "Sounds poetic," Elias said. "And not in a good way. You mock what you don't understand. I've learned that keeps me alive." She glanced at him, the faintest amusement in her eyes. "And yet you stay beside what frightens you." "I guess I like bad ideas," he said. The humor faded as the console lights dimmed. A low hum filled the air, deep, resonant, almost like a heartbeat. "What the hell is that?" Elias asked. The AI's voice quavered slightly, an impossibility for a machine. "Unknown energy resonance detected. Source, internal." "Internal," Lysra snapped. "Explain." "Origin point, lower decks. Cargo chamber 3. Elias grabbed his sidearm. "That's where the fragment samples were stored." We brought that thing aboard? Standard protocol, he said. We needed analysis. Your protocols may doom us all, she hissed, already moving. They reached the cargo bay moments later. The door controls flickered as they approached. Beyond the transparent barrier, the sphere they'd recovered from the ruins floated midair, its surface rippling with faint light. But now it was growing. Slowly, impossibly, tendrils of darkness unfurling like smoke underwater. It shouldn't be active, Elias said. The containment field's intact. No, Lysra said, stepping closer. It's adapting. The air vibrated, a low frequency pressing into their bones. Then a sound emerged. Not a voice, but something close. A whisper felt more than heard. We are awake. Lysra froze, her pupils dilating. Elias raised his weapon. You hearing that? Yes, she whispered. It's speaking in thought resonance. Direct neural contact. And it's in your head? Ours, she corrected, touching her temple. You, me, the ship. It's learning our minds. The sphere's glow intensified. Symbols, Elendrian, ancient and fractured, appeared across its surface. Lysra's expression faltered. Those markings, they predate our history. This thing remembers the First War. First War? Elias asked. The war we never speak of, she said. When creation itself rebelled against silence. He blinked. You're telling me this thing's a survivor from, what, cosmic mythology? Not myth, she said. Memory. The light flared. The containment field shattered. Shards of crystal scattering like ice. Elias fired instinctively, blue bolts vanishing into the mass of shadow. Convulsed, absorbing the energy. The deck vibrated as the lights flickered across the ship. The AI's voice stuttered. System failure imminent. Entity integration detected. It's in the grid, Elias said. It's merging with the ship. Not if I stop it, Lysra said, raising her hands. The air around her shimmered as energy gathered, Elendrian bioluminescence, power born of thought and symmetry. She unleashed a wave of light that slammed into the sphere. For a moment it recoiled, but then the tendrils reached back, wrapping around her energy and pulling it inward. She cried out, staggering. Elias caught her before she fell. Hey, stay with me. It's feeding, she gasped. On us. On anything alive. Then we cut it off, he said. AI, seal the bulkhead. Negative, said the ship's trembling voice. Entity override. I serve silence. The lights dimmed. You've got to be kidding me, Elias muttered. He dragged Lysra out of the bay as the doors sealed behind them, locking the growing mass inside. The corridor lights flickered, shadows pulsing along the walls. It's using the ship like a body, Elias said. We've got to kill power to stop the spread. That will strand us, she said weakly. Better stranded than consumed. You risk everything for a world not your own, she murmured. Guess I'm consistent, he said grimly. They reached the engineering deck. Sparks showered from overhead conduits as the lights warped into strange patterns. Elias accessed the control panel, but the interface shifted under his touch, letters changing, rearranging into symbols he didn't recognize. It's rewriting the systems, he said. Lysra, I need your help. She stepped forward, placing her hand against the console. Her eyes flared with silver light as she spoke in her native tongue, a fluid, harmonic rhythm that resonated with the ship's core. Slowly, the symbols stabilized. There, she said, breathless. Manual override engaged. Good, Elias said. Now let's pull the plug. Together, they severed the energy conduits feeding the containment systems. The ship shuddered violently, alarms screaming. Then silence. The hum faded. The lights steadied. Did it work? Elias asked. For now, she said. We've cut off its access to power. But it's still here, waiting. Then we find a way to get rid of it. How? You're the princess, he said. I'm just the idiot who stares at danger and calls it pretty. That drew the smallest laugh from her, though it sounded closer to a sigh. You are unlike anyone I've met, Elias Ward. That's what everyone says before I ruin their day, he said. She gave him a look that was almost fond. Perhaps today will be the exception. They made their way to the observation deck. Beyond the glass, the debris field drifted quietly, but there was movement, subtle, unnatural. Fragments of the ruined outpost had begun to align, drawn by invisible force. It's spreading, Elias said. Pieces of that thing are still active. Not pieces, Lysra whispered. Seeds. It's reproducing. The comm system crackled. A voice, familiar and wrong, spoke through the static. Lysra of Alindra, you left us to die. Her face went pale. That voice, she said. It's Commander Kareth. He was stationed on Caliph 9. The one who sent the distress signal? Yes, she said. But he's dead. Apparently not, Elias said grimly. The voice continued, distorted, layered. We saw the silence and it saw us. Now we are its eyes. The ship's sensors flared. Dozens of signatures appeared on the display. Alindrian life forms, or what was left of them, moving in synchronized patterns through the void. Those aren't survivors, Elias said. They're consumed, Lysra finished softly. Elias gritted his teeth. I'm open to suggestions. We run, she said. Now. They raced to the bridge. The Eidolon's engines roared as it broke orbit, but the swarm followed, fragments of ships and bodies, glowing faintly with that same pulsing rhythm. How fast can this thing go? Elias shouted. Faster than your fear, she said, fingers dancing across the controls. Then I'm about to test that theory. The ship surged forward, stars blurring into streaks. The swarm receded, but only barely. They're matching our speed, he said. Impossible. Apparently not, he said. We can't outrun this. Then we outthink it. Lysra closed her eyes. There is an Alindrian protocol, a weapon left from the First War. It creates a resonant field that collapses psionic frequencies. Meaning it silences the silence. Why didn't you start with that? Because it kills everything within range, including us. Elias exhaled. Always a catch. Always, she said. But if we time it precisely and shield part of the ship, we may survive. Define may. Less than half a probability. I've worked with worse. They began reconfiguring the field generators, rerouting power manually. The deck hummed with energy. Once we activate this, she said, there will be no turning back. Wasn't planning on it, he said. What do you need me to do? Trust me. He met her gaze. Already do. She placed her hands on the console, her eyes glowing again. The lights dimmed, the hum deepening until it filled the ship like the breath of a sleeping god. Now, she whispered. The field ignited, a sphere of radiant energy expanding outward, devouring the dark. The swarm screamed, a sound that was both mechanical and alive. The void burned white. When it was over, silence returned. True silence. The ship drifted, scorched and dim but intact. Elias groaned, pulling himself upright. Still alive? He asked. Barely, Lysra said, slumped against the console. But the silence is gone. For now, he said. You always say that, she murmured. Experience, he said. She looked at him then, truly looked, and something in her expression softened. When I asked why you stared, she said quietly, I thought you were foolish. Now I see you were only honest. Wouldn't know how to be otherwise, he said. Outside, the stars began to brighten again. But in the reflection of the glass, Elias thought he saw something deep in the void, a flicker of shadow that pulsed once before vanishing. He said nothing. The universe, after all, was never done listening. The stars outside the Eidolon had never looked so calm, but Elias Ward knew better. After what they'd seen in the wreckage of Caliph 9, quiet didn't feel like peace anymore. Felt like something catching its breath. He stood at the observation deck, watching the void drift by in slow, hypnotic waves, his reflection a tired ghost against the glass. Behind him, the ship hummed faintly, half its systems offline, the others clinging to life by sheer will and alien ingenuity. Somewhere deep in the hull, the damage from their desperate pulse still bled radiation into the decks below. The silence was gone, but he couldn't shake the feeling it had only retreated to listen. Lysera's footsteps were nearly soundless as she approached, her armor replaced by a simple crystalline suit that shimmered faintly with her pulse. She looked tired too, though her posture remained perfect, an Elendrian trait he doubted they ever lost, even in exhaustion. "You should rest," she said. "You've been standing here for hours." "Can't sleep," Elias said. "Every time I close my eyes, I hear it. The silence." "Yeah," he murmured, "like it's still humming somewhere, waiting for us to forget." She moved beside him, her reflection joining his in the glass. "Forgetting is what destroys civilizations," she said. "Remembering is what saves them." "That sounds like something your people would carve into a temple wall," he said. "It was," she said softly, "until we stopped listening." He turned to her. "You think this thing, whatever it is connected to your history?" "It is our history," she said. "We believed the silence was the end of all things, but it was the beginning. The Elendrian Empire was born from fear of it. We built perfection to keep it at bay. And now it's back," he said. "Yes," she whispered, "and it found something new to feed on, us." They stood in silence for a while. The hum of the ship filled the air like a heartbeat. Finally, she said, "You should know something, Elias Ward. You were right." "About what?" "About danger and beauty being the same thing." Her voice was calm, but there was a strange softness in it now, one he hadn't heard before. "I used to think beauty was only what could not be touched. But humans—" She hesitated, searching for words. "You touch everything. You burn yourselves for what you love. We call that living," he said. "You call it reckless." "It is," she admitted, smiling faintly. "And yet, it makes your lives so bright." Elias smiled back. "Careful, Your Highness. You almost sound like you're complimenting us." "Perhaps I am," she said, eyes glinting. Then her expression darkened. "But I cannot let this thing reach Elendra. If the silence finds our core systems, it will consume more than worlds. It will consume will itself. Then we stop it," he said. "Together." "You say that as though it's simple." "Not simple," he said. "Just necessary." Before she could answer, the ship's alarms blared. The AI's voice, still shaky from partial corruption, spoke in bursts. "Warning, unidentified anomaly detected. Vector approaching from..." The transmission broke into static. "Here we go again," Elias muttered. They ran for the bridge. The holomap flickered to life, showing a massive distortion ahead, space itself bending inward, forming a vortex of light and shadow. "That's not natural," he said. "No," Lysera agreed. "It's a breach." "A what?" "A wound in reality," she said. "The silence is using the energy we released. It's pulling itself through." The ship shook as gravitational waves slammed into it. Sparks rained from the ceiling. "Hull integrity at 73%, the AI reported. "We can't outrun it," Elias said. "Then we don't run," Lysera said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "We face it." "You've got a plan?" "A prayer," she said. "The difference is faith." The breach widened until it filled the viewport, a sphere of swirling blue and black energy, pulsing like a heartbeat. Shapes moved inside it, silhouettes twisting against the light. Elias felt something cold crawl through his mind, a whisper brushing the edge of thought. "You open the door. You hearing this?" he said. Lysera nodded slowly, eyes unfocused. "It's calling." "Don't answer," he said sharply. "That's how it gets in." "It's too late," she murmured. "It's already inside." Her pupils dilated, her voice shifting, layered. "We see you, human." Elias raised his weapon, uncertain whether he was pointing it at the void or her. "Get out of her head," he shouted. "She's not yours." The air trembled as energy flared around her, her form outlined in white light. "You can't fight what you are," the voice said through her lips. You carry silence too. Maybe, Elias said. But we also carry noise. He fired. The blast struck the energy field, disrupting it. Lysra collapsed, the connection breaking. Elias caught her before she hit the floor. Her eyes fluttered open, dazed. You, she whispered. You shot me. I missed on purpose, he said. Mostly. You're insane. You're welcome. The ship groaned again, drawn toward the vortex. We can't stay here, Elias said. We'll be torn apart. Lysra pushed herself up. There's one chance. The Elendrian Archives, the old beacon. It's a repository built during the First War, designed to record the silence's pattern. If we can find it, we can understand how to stop it. Coordinates. Stored in my genetic key, she said. But accessing it requires resonance, 2 frequencies in harmony. Meaning I need you. He blinked. You're saying I have to sing with you? Not sing, she said. Resonate. It's like aligning heartbeats. Great, he said. I can barely align my socks. She stepped closer, her expression unreadable. You trust me? After all this? He said. Yeah, I guess I do. Then hold still. She placed her hand on his chest, right over his heart. A pulse of light rippled outward, connecting them in a field of warmth that hummed through the deck. Elias felt his heartbeat slow, then match hers, a perfect synchrony, human imperfection meeting alien precision. The ship responded, its systems stabilizing as their combined energy flowed through the core. It's working, she said softly. You are resonating. First time I've ever been in tune with royalty, he muttered. She smiled faintly. Do not get used to it. The coordinates appeared on the map, a star system deep within Elendrian space, hidden inside a nebula shaped like a spiral shell. The old beacon, she said. Set course. On it. As the Eidolon turned, the vortex behind them began to collapse, its energy folding inward like a dying star. But before it vanished completely, a shadow emerged. A massive serpentine form made of light and void, moving as if it had always been there, waiting. Tell me that's not real, Elias whispered. It's real, Lysra said quietly. The silence has a shape. The creature turned its head toward them, and though it had no eyes, Elias felt its gaze pierce through him. A voice echoed in his skull, softer now, almost curious. Why do you resist what you are? He gritted his teeth. Because I'm human. We resist everything. The shadow paused, then laughed, or maybe the sound was the universe breaking. Then it was gone, swallowed by the closing rift. Hours later, the Eidolon slipped into hyperspace, leaving only fading light behind. Elias sat in the co-pilot's chair, adrenaline finally draining. Lysra watched the stars stretch into ribbons. You said it has a shape, he said quietly. What is it? A memory, she said. A reflection of creation before thought. It is the universe remembering silence. You make it sound alive. It is, she said. And now so are we. He leaned back, eyes half closed. You really think this beacon can stop it? I think, she said. It will tell us what it wants. And if what it wants is everything? She looked at him, her gaze unreadable. Then we give it something better. The lights dimmed as the ship cruised into the deep lanes of hyperspace. Outside, the stars sang their silent song, each one a heartbeat in an endless night. For the first time since this began, Elias felt something strange. Not fear, not exhaustion, but connection. To her, to the stars, to the fragile miracle of being alive in a universe that seemed determined to erase noise. Lysra turned her gaze toward him, her expression softer than he'd ever seen. When you said I was beautiful, she said quietly, I thought it was flattery. Wasn't, he said. Still isn't. Then why say it? Because it's true, he said simply. And because truth's the only thing that scares me more than you. She blinked, caught between laughter and disbelief. You are impossible. And you're welcome. For a long moment, they sat in silence that wasn't empty but alive, filled with the rhythm of hearts that had learned, for a little while, to match. In the distant void, beyond all sensors, something stirred again. The silence wasn't gone. It was listening, waiting for the next sound to fall. Hyperspace was never meant to be beautiful, yet the Eidolon made it so. The blue currents that streaked past the hull shimmered like rivers of thought, wrapping the ship in a cocoon of impossible light. Elias sat in the co-pilot's chair, boots propped against the console, pretending to relax while every muscle in his body stayed wound like a spring. Ahead of them, the beacon's coordinates pulsed faintly on the holographic map. A single star hidden deep within a nebula shaped like a spiral shell, invisible to any scanner that didn't know how to listen rather than see. Lysera was silent beside him. She hadn't spoken much since the breach. The glow in her veins, once steady, like a pulse, was dimmer now, a quiet exhaustion threading through every movement. She still carried herself like royalty, chin high, posture precise, but Elias could sense the strain beneath the perfection. "You're fading," he said quietly. "I do not fade," she said automatically. "You do," he countered. "You're not a machine. You can't hold this pace forever." She didn't look at him, her gaze fixed on the flowing light beyond the viewport. "You mistake compassion for weakness." "No," he said. "I mistake pride for stupidity." That earned him a sidelong glance. "Careful, Commander. You tread near insolence." "Yeah," he said. "But I'm right." She held his gaze for a long moment, then sighed. A sound almost too human to come from her. "We Elindrians were taught that perfection is strength," she said quietly. "That flaws invite failure. But you," she hesitated, "you live inside your flaws. You wear them as though they are armor." "They are," he said. "Armor and warning labels." "And do they protect you?" "Sometimes," he admitted. "Mostly, they remind me what's worth getting hurt for." Her expression softened, though she said nothing. The hum of the engines filled the silence between them. Finally, the AI's voice interrupted. "Approaching designated coordinates. Exiting hyperspace." The ship shuddered as the swirling lights stretched and collapsed into stars. Before them lay the veiled expanse, a nebula vast and alive, glowing in shades of violet and gold. At its heart pulsed a massive structure, ancient, crystalline, orbiting a dead sun. "The beacon," Lysera whispered. It was magnificent. A ring of spires surrounded a central core, each spire connected by shimmering bridges of light. The architecture was unmistakably Elindrian, yet older, rougher, more primal, like a civilization's first attempt at beauty before perfection caged it. "That thing's been here a long time," Elias murmured. "Since before your empire?" "Before language," she said. "Before the first Elindrian wrote their name in starlight. And it's still running. The silence never stops," she said softly. The Eidolon descended into the beacon's orbit. As they approached the docking ring, faint energy signatures flickered across the sensors. "It's alive," Elias said. "Not alive," she corrected. "Remembering." The docking clamps engaged with a low, resonant tone that vibrated through the hull like the toll of a bell. The airlock hissed open. "Stay close," she said. "If anything stirs, it will not differentiate between us and the past." "Comforting," he muttered. They entered the beacon. The interior was vast and cold, lit by streams of pale light flowing along the walls like frozen waterfalls. The silence here wasn't emptiness. It was pressure, thick enough to feel in his chest. Every step echoed forever. "Feels like walking through someone's memories," Elias said. "It is," Lysera replied. "Ours." They passed through a hall filled with statues, figures of Elindrians, their faces serene, hands pressed to their chests. Each bore a small crystal at the heart, glowing faintly. "What are these?" Elias asked. "Archivists," she said. "They gave their memories to the beacon, so the silence could never erase them." He frowned. "You mean they uploaded themselves?" "Not uploaded," she said. "Preserved." She paused before one statue whose eyes seemed to follow her. "My mother was among them." Elias's throat tightened. "I didn't know." "Few do," she said. When I was a child, I would come here and speak to her image, thinking she could hear me. Now I wonder if she was trying to warn me instead. About the silence? About what we'd forgotten. They reached the central chamber. A great crystalline monolith rose from the floor, humming with buried energy. Its surface shimmered with glyphs that changed whenever Elias tried to focus on them. "This is it," Lysra said. "The heart of the beacon." She approached and placed her palm against the crystal. The glyphs flared to life, bathing the room in blue light. Identification. Royal frequency recognized. The AI translated automatically. Accessing archive. The light expanded into a holographic field, filling the room with projections of Elendrian history, wars, creation, and the rise of their empire. But beneath the beauty lurked shadow, vast shapes devouring stars, worlds falling silent one by one. Elias recognized the rhythm immediately, the same pulse they'd felt at Caliph 9. "It's been here before," he whispered. "The silence, it's been here before." "It never left," Lysra said. "It slumbers between the spaces of creation. When civilizations grow too loud, it returns to remind them what quiet means. Then how do we stop it?" "We don't," she said quietly. "We harmonize with it." He stared at her. "You want to make peace with something that erases entire worlds?" "Not peace," she said. "Understanding. The silence isn't evil, Elias. It's balance. We fight it because we fear being forgotten, but everything ends. Even stars. That's not balance," he said. "That's surrender. And yet you can't destroy what isn't alive." Before he could reply, the beacon's glow shifted. The air grew heavier, electric. A voice filled the chamber. Not from outside, but from everywhere at once. "Child of light, why do you return?" Lysra's eyes widened. "It's aware. Your kind caged what it could not comprehend." Elias gripped his weapon instinctively. "Show yourself." "We are shown in every shadow." The walls rippled. The statues lining the hall cracked open, light pouring from within. The archivist's forms moved, turning toward them. "They're waking up," Elias said. "They're not supposed to move, right?" "No," Lysra whispered. "They aren't." One of the figures stepped forward, its face expressionless, voice hollow. "The silence comes. You must leave." "We can't," Lysra said. "We need to know how to stop it." The figure tilted its head. "It cannot be stopped." "Then tell us how you survived it." "We didn't." Elias fired as the light surged toward them. The blast passed harmlessly through the figure, scattering into sparks. Lysra raised her hands, speaking in Elendrian. The energy pulsed, slowing the movement of the others. "They're echoes," she said. "Fragments of memory trying to protect what's left. Then they need to get out of our way. They can't. The silence uses them now." The ground shook. The monolith split open, releasing a burst of pure energy that threw them both to the floor. The light coalesced into a humanoid form, tall, faceless, made entirely of starlight and shadow. "You fear what you cannot hold," the voice intoned. "You build empires to drown the quiet, yet you forget. Silence made you." Lysra rose to her knees, trembling. "You're wrong," she said. "We made ourselves." The entity tilted its head. "Did you?" Elias raised his weapon again. "Get out of her head," he growled. "You cannot kill what you are," it replied. "Watch me." He fired. The blast hit the entity dead center, tearing through its light. It screamed, not in pain, but like 1,000 voices singing at once. The room exploded with sound. Lysra staggered forward, pressing her hand to the crystal again. "Elias, help me channel it." "Channel what?" "The resonance. Every time you say that, something explodes. Then let it explode right this time." He joined her, pressing his hand beside hers. The beacon pulsed, light spiraling outward. The entity recoiled as their combined energy filled the chamber. A symphony of human defiance and Elendrian precision. "Now!" she shouted. The beacon released a shockwave that tore through the structure. The entity dissolved into motes of shadow, vanishing into the air. When the light faded, the hall was still. The monolith stood silent once more, its glyphs dark. Elias dropped to his knees, breathing hard. "Please tell me that worked." "It did," Lysera said, her voice trembling. "For now." "You keep saying that," he muttered. She smiled faintly, sitting beside him. "Because nothing ends forever. You ever get tired of being right? Do you?" He laughed softly, then winced. "I'm not sure what hurts more, my ribs or reality." "You're impossible," she said, and for once, there was warmth in the words. He looked at her, seeing not the perfect alien princess but the woman beneath, the one who had fought her own history and chosen to change it. "So are you," he said. For a long moment, they sat in the quiet glow of the dying beacon. Then Lysera reached out, brushing her fingers against his hand. "Elias," she said softly, "when this is over, if it ever ends, what will you do?" "Haven't thought that far," he admitted. "Guess I'll go where I'm needed." "And if you are needed here?" He looked at her, and for the first time the thought didn't feel impossible. "Then I'll stay." Outside, beyond the nebula, something vast and silent stirred. The universe exhaled, and began to listen again. The Eidolon drifted in low orbit above the veiled expanse, its scarred hull gleaming faintly under the pale light of the dead sun. The aftermath of the beacon's activation still pulsed through its systems, waves of energy humming like a heartbeat that refused to die. Elias Ward stood on the outer observation deck, the stars vast before him, the nebula swirling like ink in water. He'd seen battlefields, worlds burning, the quiet aftermath of too many lost causes, but never silence like this. Not emptiness, not fear. Something older, patient, watching. He took a slow breath, feeling the cold metal under his palms. The echo of the silence was gone, at least the thing that had worn its shape. But what lingered wasn't victory. It was awareness. The universe had noticed him. "If you're still out there," he murmured to the void, "you know where to find me." "Talking to the dark again?" Lysera's voice broke the stillness. She stepped beside him, her cloak rippling faintly in the artificial wind. Her eyes reflected the nebula's shifting light, fragments of gold and silver threading through the blue. "You have a strange habit of challenging things no mortal can hear." "Yeah," he said, "but sometimes they answer." She tilted her head slightly. "Do they?" "You did," he said, glancing at her. "Once. That was different." "How?" "Because I was listening." "Maybe they are too," he said. "Maybe that's the problem." For a while, they stood together without speaking. Below them, the beacon glowed faintly, repaired enough to survive but changed. Its hum no longer held the rigid symmetry of Elendrian design. It was softer now, imperfect, touched by something human. The AI had called it resonant variance. Lysera called it hope. "You realize," she said at last, "we have rewritten a piece of history." "Yeah," Elias said. "That tends to happen when people stop dying long enough to think." "No," she said softly. "You don't understand. The beacon has recorded us. Our resonance, our defiance. The Elendrian archives will call this blasphemy. My council will want me exiled or executed." He looked at her, half smiling. "Then you'd better not go home alone." She turned toward him, her expression unreadable. "You would stand beside me? Against my own empire." "Wouldn't be the first time I annoyed someone in power," he said. Her lips curved in that almost smile that had become his favorite sight in all the stars. "You are either the bravest or the most foolish creature I've ever met." "Maybe both," he said. "Keeps life interesting." She looked away, toward the distant shimmer of the nebula. "The silence will come again, Elias. It always does. It doesn't die, it waits. And when the next civilization grows loud enough, it will rise to remind them." "Then we remind it," he said. "That noise isn't chaos, it's life." She studied him, the faintest spark of wonder in her eyes. "You truly believe you can teach the universe to listen?" "No," he said, "but I can make it hear me." Something in his voice made her fall silent. The nebula light reflected in her eyes, and for a moment, she looked almost human. Tired, alive, infinite. "You are extraordinary," she said softly. "I'm just stubborn," he said. "It's what we do best." Later, they walked the corridors together, the ship quieter than usual. The Alindrian crew had begun repairs, their movements precise and reverent. They nodded as she passed, some with awe, some with hesitation. Word of what had happened on the beacon had already spread through the channels, half myth, half fear. The human who defied the silence, the princess who listened to him. When they reached the central chamber, the beacon's holographic projection hovered in miniature above the table, spinning slowly. Lysra traced her fingers through the light. "Do you know what this means?" she asked. "That the universe just got a lot more complicated? That perhaps," she said, "our two species were meant to find each other. Your noise, our silence. Harmony born from chaos." "You make it sound poetic," he said. "It is," she replied. "Everything that endures is poetry, in one form or another." He leaned against the console. "So what happens now?" "Now," she said, her voice quieter, "we return to Alindra. The council will demand answers, and I must give them truth." "You're not going to tell them everything, are you?" "I must," she said, "but they will not understand. They have forgotten how to feel." "Then maybe it's time they learned," he said. She smiled faintly. "You make it sound easy." "It's not," he said, "but it's worth it." Their eyes met again, and for a moment the distance between species, between worlds, between everything that had once separated them, seemed to dissolve. "Elias," she said softly, "do you know why I asked that question? Back in the hall?" "Which one?" "Why you were staring." "Because I was," he said, "and because I couldn't look away." "I thought you were mocking me," she said. "Most do. They see the crown before the person." "I saw both," he said, "and I liked the contradiction." Her laughter was quiet, warm. "You are a strange man. You have no idea." The silence between them grew heavier, but not awkward, something like gravity, drawing them together. She reached out, her fingers brushing his sleeve. The touch sent a spark through him, small but undeniable. "You changed me," she said. "That's dangerous talk, princess." "Perhaps," she said, "but true. I could say the same." "Then say it." "You changed me." For a moment, she looked at him as if searching for a lie and finding none. "Then maybe," she whispered, "we've already won." Before he could answer, the ship's alarms flared again. "Not now," Elias groaned. "What is it this time?" The AI's voice cut through the noise. "Energy surge detected. Origin beacon core." "Impossible," Lysra said. "It was dormant. Apparently it got bored." They ran to the command deck. Outside, the beacon pulsed once, twice, and then released a wave of light that rippled through space. "What's it doing?" Elias shouted. Lysra stared at the readings, astonished. "It's broadcasting." "Broadcasting what?" "Everything. The silence, our resonance, the war, the balance. It's sending it all across the galaxy." "As in, everyone's getting the story?" "Yes," she whispered. "Every world with ears to listen." The light spread farther, enveloping the nebula, then the stars beyond. Elias felt the vibration in his bones, a hum of life, of truth. "Guess that's one way to start a conversation," he said. "You've just taught the universe to talk back." Lysra smiled through the glow. "Then let it sing." The light faded. The beacon dimmed again, its purpose fulfilled. For the first time since they'd found it, the silence felt different. Not ominous, peaceful. "It's done," she said softly. "We did it." "You did," he said. "I just tagged along." "No," she said. "You reminded me that even stars need someone to see them." He laughed quietly. "Still think I was foolish for saying you were beautiful?" "Yes," she said, "but only because I didn't understand what you meant. And now," she looked at him with eyes like dawn breaking through eternity. "Now I do." The ship turned toward Alindra, engines igniting with soft resonance. Behind them, the beacon shimmered one last time before fading into the nebula. The silence, for once, stayed still. Elias watched the stars ahead. "You think they'll listen?" "Not at first," she said. "But they will. Even silence learns in time. And us? We'll make sure they don't forget." He smiled. "Then let's go remind them." As the Eidolon vanished into the light of the rising stars, two silhouettes stood at its helm. One human, one alien. Each carrying the other's truth in their heartbeat. And somewhere, in the vast quiet that followed, the universe listened. Because even silence, when met with love, can't help but echo forever.